Neil Diamond's second appearance at the Greek. We asked him if the hot August night was more special to him than his first appearance.
I don't know if it was more special. I went back the second time really because I had such an enjoyable time the first time. It was just the setting of the whole theater. From point of view of a performer, it was very refreshing to be outdoors, to know the audience was outdoors. I had a very good experience the first time I was there, and I wanted to come back and do it again just for my own enjoyment. The first time it was new and it was strange and it was a whole new experience for me. But I did come back the second time because of the good experiences that we had the first time, not only with the audiences but with the Greek theater, which was just tremendous. You don't always find that kind of cooperation from the theater that you're working with. And they just bent over backwards to help in any way we could. Even so far as to bending a lot of the rules to allow people to go up into the hills and sit in the parking lots. And I went back the second time just for my own enjoyment.
Just prior to the opening, Neil had an announcement for the press. Either the Tree People would be allowed to view the show or he wouldn't perform. Today he remembers the Tree People fondly.
Yeah, it seems that when I was doing the Greek theater show, they had sold out. And from my experience the first year that I was there, I knew that there'd be a lot of people who wanted to get in, weren't able to get in. People who were willing to climb that mountain and sit on the hills and watch it, which to me is the ideal way to watch that kind of a concert. First of all, you get in for free, and you're able to sit under a bush somewhere and break open a bottle of some nice white wine and enjoy the whole thing. But they had so many people who were into that thing. They had the parking lots filled with people who were just sitting on top of their cars and listening. This is what I understand. I didn't see any of it. And also the hills surrounding the Greek were filled. And I understand one night they had something like 5,000 people in the trees, which was more than was in the audience. It was great fun for me because I couldn't see any of them, and yet we were relating to each other and talking back and forth. It was a big kick and a big surprise, too.
But the fire department didn't think it was such a great idea.
Yeah, we knew that there would be some people there, and the fire department from the year before was loath to have that many people in the hills because it's a fire area. But I had asked the Greek Theater if they would put on extra fire people and permit the people to go up there and stay up there. And we worked something out. They were very cooperative about the whole thing. And they did put extra fire people on, and we were very nice. The fire department was very good about it. And they did permit people to go up there with the extra guards and extra safeguards. So it worked out very well. You know, I wanted those people that weren't able to get in to be able to hear the show and see as much of it as they could. And it worked out well. The fire department was cooperative, and the Greek theater people were great. And it was able to work out. You know, they got in as many people as they considered safe for the area.
The box office response was so overwhelming that some people very close to Neil were unable to get seats, including his parents.
They stood, actually, but they enjoyed it. They were walking around and just kind of taking in the whole scene. I think they enjoyed it more, standing and walking around. But I couldn't get them seats, and I couldn't get a lot of other close people seats, because there just weren't no seats to be had. We didn't have any idea that there would be the kind of demand that there was.
As you'll be hearing in tonight's concert, the Greek appearance was designed by Neil Diamond to represent a 6-year retrospective of his music. His intention at that time was that this would be the last time that any of that particular music would ever be heard in concert. We asked Neil if he still feels that way.
I'm not sure. You know, I felt when I came back to the Greek the second year that this would be it. It would be a retrospective of the work that I had done, of the songs that I enjoyed most, and that was the only real criteria that I used in determining which songs went into the performance. They were just the songs that I enjoyed the most, of the things that I had written and recorded. But I did feel that I wanted to leave that period of time behind me and go on to the new music and the new work that I was preparing. My feeling now is that if and when I go back, I would use some of the old things because they still remain in me and I still do enjoy them. By the time I got to the Greek, I was so wound up and with the tour that I had done that I really didn't want to face any of that music again. But I would guess that I would do some of them again the next time. Not very many, but some of them.
As a retrospective, the Greek Theater concert contained a great body of music from an earlier period of Neil's writing career. The playbill itself commented that it's been a long road from Cherry Cherry to I Am I Said. We asked Neil if he could recall any specific turning point that sent his music into a whole new direction.
Well, there have been a lot of turning points. Partly the fact that I've grown older, I've mellowed, I've matured. My perspective on life, my attitude toward my writing and my work has developed and matured over the period of years. And because of it, because I've matured as a person, the music reflects that. Because in reality, the music is only a reflection of the person, of the writer. And I don't like to do things that I've done in the past. I don't like to do things again and again. I'd much prefer to do it different or new or fresh for my own enjoyment again. There have been many turning points. My own attitude, my own growth, the fact that the acceptance from the point of view of the music business after the Beatles has broadened insofar as what an artist could do. Up to the point that the Beatles came out, it was very, very static and very structured. And I bridled at that, and the Beatles and the success that they demonstrated offered me the opportunity to say, wait, you can do other things. It need not be just this. And that was very helpful to me and in getting my points across to the record companies that I was with.
The music performed at the Greek was music written by Neil Diamond for Neil Diamond. Notably absent from the program were such songs as I'm a Believer and A Little Bit You, A Little Bit Me. We asked Neil if that would indicate that those songs and others like them, all written for the Monkees in the mid-'60s, were not as meaningful to him.
It's been a while, actually. Those were songs that I had recorded myself and felt weren't my best works and didn't release myself. Again, I say the only criteria that I used as to what songs, what music would be performed in concert was that it still moved me. It still had the power to affect me, to make me enjoy it, to make me get up to want to perform it, and without even thinking about it or intellectualizing on it. The things that I had written earlier, except for a few things like Solitary Man and maybe Kentucky Woman or Cherry Cherry, which I still enjoy, I left those earlier things in the past simply because they no longer had that effect on me. They didn't get my enthusiasm.
Then came the news that stunned Neil Diamond fans from coast to coast. Following his upcoming appearance at the Winter Garden in New York, the culmination of that tour, Neil Diamond would drop out of sight professionally for at least a year. But that year stretched into 2, and then 3, and still no concert tour. We asked him why.
Well, I had planned to go out and do some shows during that period of time, but it seemed that every time that I was ready to go out, some interesting writing project or album project came up, and I had to put the performing thing on the back burners. And also, it's so difficult to really plan how long it'll take you to write something or to record something. I remember with Jonathan Siegel, I thought that, it really wouldn't take that long. It might take me 3, 4, 5 months, and I started early, hoping that I would finish it early. And it took almost a year to complete that work. So I got caught in kind of a bind in each of those situations where, in order really to do it right, there was much more time involved than I thought originally. So because of that, it's been difficult to plan any concerts. And also, I wanted very much to make sure that when I went out and did some concerts that I would have some new things, some interesting ideas to present on stage. And that was one of the things that I kept in the back of my mind. At this point, I think I have enough interesting things to really go out and do beautifully on stage. So I think that after this project that I'm working on now is finished, I'm going to start setting in plans to do a major worldwide kind of a tour. I'm getting kind of itchy to do it, you know. Performing is very special. It's the most fun thing you can do. I'm anxious to do it. So I think as soon as this project is finished, and I expect that I'll finish writing by the end of this August, and the recording will run until early October. After that point, I'm going to start seriously blocking out times and places and really put together a super concert presentation.
We asked him if he had worried about the effect of a long layoff on his career.
Well, I was aware of that. I had been advised by friends and associates that it wasn't a wise thing for me to drop out of public view, because I hadn't done television in 3 or 4 years, and the performing thing was the only way that the public could come and see me do what I do. But my primary focus has always been that I keep my creative juices flowing, and that I keep my head together, and that I enjoy what I'm doing, and that it not be a rat race, that I not constantly try to appeal to sustain a level of public acceptance, because I've always felt that the quality of the work would be the determining factor in that. And so that's the thing that I go after primarily. What must I do to keep myself and my juices flowing, feel good about the work that I do, feel enthusiastic about the work that I do? And so that was the only real consideration. I felt that, yes, although it might hurt to some degree not to be seen in public for a while, the quality of the work would then compensate for it. From a career point of view, I don't know if it was a wise decision, but from my own personal point of view, I felt it was, and I still do.
That would seem to indicate that Neil Diamond thinks of himself as a songwriter first and a performer second.
I've always thought of myself as a writer only because that's what I started doing, and I've been doing it for longer than any of the other things, about 15 or 16 years. And so it's part of me. It's really part of what I am. There's no way, though, for me to separate which I enjoy most, because they all have their own special gifts that they give to me. The writing is very personal, and they're very rewarding in a long-run sense, because there are songs that I've written 5 years ago that I can still enjoy today and still be moved by, whereas a performance is a very, very temporary kind of exciting, like fireworks, you know, spectacular and beautiful and exciting when it's happening, but there's not very much that I could take from it after. I remember now that I did play the Winter Garden Theater. I remember I played the Greek Theater. I remember I played Europe and some great places here in the United States, but it doesn't sustain me as much. While it's happening, it's the most fantastic feeling in the world. But they each have their own little thing that they give to me, and I wouldn't want to eliminate any of them from my, let's call it, creative vocabulary. But they each have a place, you know, and I have to, in my own mind, find that place and hope that it's that they are consistent with my own happiness, with my own enjoyment and enthusiasm for my work.
The Greek Theater concert was almost the end of a long and exhausting tour for Neil Diamond, and the fatigue showed. But somehow he brought forth the energy and the dynamics that made the hot August night the memorable occasion that it is. We asked him if he knew himself where this energy came from.
Yeah, fear. Well, you know, it's a funny thing. Once you make a commitment, and once you step on stage, there's almost nothing that can stop you from doing the performance the way you want to do it. You feel almost no pain, you feel almost no tiredness when you're on stage. And it was a very exciting engagement, the Greek Theater. I was tired. We had just completed a very extensive European tour. I'd been touring through the States, and I was not in the best shape of my life. But again, the fact that it was a stage, it was a very receptive audience, it was a very enjoyable setting, all of these things made the adrenaline flow, and I didn't feel any tiredness on stage.
Watching the audience file into the Greek Theater for the concert, one was struck with the enormous variety of types who respond to the music of Neil Diamond. The ages ranged from pre-teenagers to couples in their 50s and 60s. Neil has some theories as to why he and his music appeal to such a broad spectrum.
I'll give you my own opinion for what it's worth. It's certainly not an objective opinion, but I think it's probably due to the fact that I identify and feel compassion for all of these people, and it shows in the music, the style of music, the form of music, and in my presentation. I've never really, except in the beginning, except in the first few years, appealed to any specific age group. It's music, it's universal. I like to think that my lyrics and my thoughts are universal and not limited to any specific age group. And probably for that reason, you find such a broad audience out there. It's been pretty true in most of the concerts that I've done all over the world. Very broad audiences, and I like that. You know, at the beginning I felt it was a detriment because I didn't really have an understanding of who I was appealing to and who the concert should be aimed at. But as it turned out, as it evolved, I never really tried to aim the music at any one group. It was music. It was humanity in the form of music, and it worked better for me because it's more natural for me as a person.
There's no disputing that appeal. You'll hear the ovations he got from that diverse audience at the Greek throughout the concert. And we'll hear that concert in its entirety, complete and uninterrupted, right after this word. Neil Diamond's Hot August Night concert was recorded by MCA Records and released on the Uni label. However, the performance you're about to hear on KNX-FM was taped directly from the 16-track master from which the record was later pressed. Consequently, you'll be hearing the concert in the full stereo brilliance in which it was originally performed. Now let's go back in time. It's 1972. On stage at the Greek Theater are the 10 musicians who made the tour with Neil. And behind them, a 40-piece orchestra under the direction of Lee Holdridge. Members of the audience are fanning away the heat with their programs and waiting for Neil Diamond. But all activity ceases as the orchestra plays the first notes of the overture. This is KNX-FM Los Angeles. You just heard the entire Neil Diamond Hot August Night concert, complete and uninterrupted. The program continues with Neil Diamond in conversation following this message. At the conclusion of the Greek Theater engagement, Neil Diamond capped his tour with its most dramatic success, the Winter Garden Theater on Broadway in New York. The show was produced by the Schuberts, their first presentation of a one-man show since Al Jolson in 1931. Then, in total triumph, Neil Diamond made good his word and went into professional seclusion.
song and the words are rhyme. And it don't say much and it won't offend if you sing in a school. Liable to send you home. Never knowing what you're showing. Think you're growing. You're on the cheek. Good Lord. And he didn't say much. Like a man with a tiger outside his gate. Not only couldn't relax, but he couldn't relate.